Hello, I am Old Norse Specialist Dr. Jackson Crawford, joined by Veronica Björkman, the Activities Director, Island Director for Birka.
Yeah, destination manager.
Destination Manager. Always interesting titles for this sort of thing, right? I used to be a Visitor Services Coordinator, like, what does it mean? But we are here at Birka Vikingastaden, one of the most remarkable archaeological sites in the world, I think it's fair to say,
Yeah.
certainly in Scandinavia. And in this video, we're going to tell you a little bit about what you can see when you are here. And all right, so Veronica, we are standing, well, where are we standing right now? What are we looking at behind us?
Yeah, we are standing right now in one of the burial grounds of Birka, and we have a lot of them. This is the biggest Viking Age burial ground in the world, and we have more than 4,000 graves from the Viking Age here.
And the majority have never been excavated.
Yeah, it's around 1,200 that is excavated, but they are not excavated today.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them were excavating during the 1800s.
Mm-hmm. And that was by Stolpe, the
Yes,
entomologist,
Hjalmar Stolpe.
who came here to study insects
Mm-hmm.
and wound up
And looking for amber.
Yeah, that's right.
Because he wanted to find these fossilized insects in amber.
Did he find it?
I don't know, probably, but he found a lot of amber anyway. And when he was here, he realized that, wow, this is not just a common island. It's something very special that have happened here.
Mm-hmm.
So we asked the government for money to start excavations here, and he got it.
Mm. And what we have are multiple areas with vast numbers of grave mounds, chamber graves, also cremation burials that have grave goods, but not skeletons, right? And these date from, correct me if I'm wrong, the late 700s to early to mid 900s, right?
Yeah. Actually, we have graves from the middle of the 700s and also later than Birka disappeared.
Oh, sure.
But not so many of them. But we have some few that is probably from farmers that stays here after the town was moved.
Mm-hmm. And the largest concentration probably from around 900, would that be right?
Yeah, 800-900.
Mm-hmm. So, for example, we made a couple other videos about one very famous grave, the Woman Warrior grave, which is 900s, right?
Yeah.
And then there was also the woman with all of the tapestry, or not tapestries, what's the word I'm looking for? Cloth things, textiles.
Textiles, yeah.
And then the two men from the 700s.
Yeah.
So several different periods. Are there particular areas where graves from a particular time would be concentrated? Like, is there an early area, a later area, or are they just using whatever?
Yeah. We have some of the burial grounds are like separated, but in some places they are also mixed.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you can see that the graves are concentrated around the town area.
Mm-hmm.
So they build the graves like a circle, you can say, around the town.
Which is, I mean, one of the really remarkable things about this is how vast the area dedicated to the dead is.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you think about how this island was smaller then.
Yeah.
It's largely an island of the dead, with a small area for the living, it seems like,
Yes.
behind those walls. Now, Are they burying people on top of other people? Are they mounding up mounds on top of mounds?
Yes,
Okay.
they have been a really mixed of burial traditions. There are a lot of different kind of graves, and in some of them there is just one person. In some of them there are two and even more, like a family. And you can also see that maybe in the end, when they are out of space, they have put graves on top of other graves or very close, so they like grow together.
I was wondering about that up here in particular because, of course, we're standing on a little bit of a hill, not very high, but I had wondered, is this just mounds on top of mounds? Are we just standing on someone's mound
Grave,
right now?
yeah. I think the like the hill here is natural, but they wanted to show the graves from the water.
Uh-huh.
So, like today, we have a lot of trees on the island, but 1,000 years ago, when it was more than 1,000 people living on this island, all the trees was gone and cut down to and used for firewood and for constructing things. So then you could see everything when you come from the sea.
I was trying to imagine that when we went to Adelse yesterday, the next island, and just trying to imagine coming from there in the Middle Ages and looking up here and what this would have looked like with some of these with some of the mounds with stones on top of them too, would have been very noticeable. And I think that potentially the king or ruler who lived in Adelse wanted that impact, right? Wanted the sense of this is an old place where a lot of people have lived and died. There's a deep history here. Do you think that's part of the image?
Yes, yes. They also want to show that they belong.
Uh-huh.
So, and they of course know that in this grave is my ancestor,
Sure.
and there's the father's father's father, and they can tell stories about that man, and they were very like proud of their family and their history, and they wanted to show off that they belong with graves, with rune stones, and making roads, for example, is also a thing that show that, wow, this is my area, I belong here.
Right, right. And it's interesting, of course, to note that there really are not many runes here that we know of. Right?
No,
There's the one rune stone, which is in the museum, which is in pieces. Kala yesterday showed us
a
part of another
piece.
one that had been
Yeah.
found, right? And then you mentioned that there may be a bone.
Yeah, we have rune carvings on jewelry, on bones also, and these small pieces of lead
Yeah, lead. Huh.
that they have written on.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
like to take a look at some more of those. That would be cool
Yeah.
to see. And of course, there's also the world of the living here
Yes.
within the walls. Can you tell us a little bit about the city of the living?
Yes, it was a trading town and a craft town, and it was a big area. It's called the Black Earth today because the earth is really really black, because all the bones and things that is in the soil today make it really black. And it was the king of this area of Sweden called Svitjod during Viking Age, and Svealand today. I think he has seen that in Europe they have big trading towns, and he want to take control over the trade here too.
Makes sense.
So he built up this town.
And it's a very strategic location. Right? And at the time, even more so, as Mallor the water level was higher, so you could have sailed much larger ships in here, right?
Yes, yes. So the water level was around 5-6 meters higher then. So the island was of course smaller, but it's also located in a very good way because you are like in the middle of 4 important water roads. Because during Viking Age it was very hard to transport on land. it was just forests everywhere. You could go or go horseback riding. You couldn't even go by horse and wagon for a long distance.
Sure.
So water was perfect.
And in this archipelago, people are living on these different islands. Yeah, there's nothing to take by land to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are people doing on this island? They're traders, right? They're importing and then exporting, probably exporting to the Arabic-speaking world. Right?
Yes.
Because we find Arabic coins.
Yeah, so you can see a little bit change during the time of Birka. So in the beginning, it was more trading with Europe. But then later, around the middle of 800s and the 900s, it was more trading with East. So they go to Russia and by the rivers down to the Caspian Sea, the Black Sea. And you also find things here from India and China,
yeah, the
Asia. So it was, they were
Buddha
really...
that was found on Helge.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
It's really amazing.
And then you have a population of men and women because the graves are quite mixed. This is not just a men's camp or garrison, right?
No.
Yeah.
No, I think it was a place where people were living and working. But I also think, and that is quite complicated, but they have done a bigger excavation on the Black Earth in the 1990s, and they excavated 3 plots of the town, and they could see that during the whole town's existence, the plots was constant, but the activity on it was changing during time.
Okay.
So sometime it was a blacksmith, and then it was a bronze gelbing house, and then it was bead making and so on.
I see.
So I think that the king controlled the plots in the town and decide which one could work here and do trading here.
Makes sense. I'm renting you space A, and you can put your blacksmith shop there. And if you stop paying enough rent, I'm going to rent space A to so and so. Who?
Yeah, and probably it was like rich farmers and people that working with trade that take control of this plot and have the business there. But maybe this family maybe don't live here all year round. They maybe have a great farm somewhere in the land around the island.
So they're not year-round residents, maybe.
No, and maybe it was people living here all year round, but it was maybe hired craftsmen or maybe even slaves also.
And around 970, it ceases to be occupied by so many people. The center of population moves to around Sigtuna. Is that right?
Yeah, and there's been a lot of discussion and theories about what happened and why they moved the town. But you can also see similar things in other trading towns in Scandinavia. For example, in Hedeby, Haithabu, they also moved over the water to another place. Ribe also moved, and Kaupang in Norway, for example. So something is happening also more over the whole Scandinavia, and it can be that they were converted into Christianity, for example. It can also be that the king have seen that, like in England and in France, for example, the king was having more control over bigger area and bigger people, and here was more small kingdoms. That could be one reason. They're talking about the land evolution, that it became more shallow here, so it was problem with coming in with bigger boats.
Sure.
I don't believe in that so much, but then my thoughts is that maybe the people that has been here for generations and generations, they became more powerful, they became rich, they have contact with important people all over the world. They were not so dependent on their king. So it was maybe like an earlier conflict between the nobles and the king. So the king, he feels like he lost control over the area. So he hired soldiers from other places, and he attacked his own town to take control again. Because you can see, for example, in the garrison, the house there was attacked and burnt down very, very fast. So fast that the warriors here couldn't even have time to pick up their weapons.
Oh, okay.
So they were, I think, fooled.
I see. There's an ambush that's happened
Yeah,
here.
I think so. I think so. But this is what I think. So it's not the total truth.
Sure. But very interesting.
Yeah.
That's the garrison that you said had 40 men apparently. Because
Yeah.
there were 40 combs offered inside of it. Inside
Yes.
the pillars.
Yes. So we have this very funny longhouse in one way, because it's built on a plateau in the garrison, and they have built the house so it looks bigger than it really are.
Okay.
So the house is now 20-meter long and 10-meter wide. But if you look at the shape of the house, it should be maybe 40 meters.
Huh.
So they have just cut off the end of the house for making it look bigger when you come from the water.
Okay. All right. It's got a false front.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
and we have actually a very nice project going on now, and it's to reconstruct that house.
Oh, right.
So we start to build it.
And you can buy these pins to help
do
support
it.
that project. Yeah. So contact Birkavikingastaden about that. Now, one of the things very famous about Birka is this is the site of the first Christian mission in Scandinavia that's known. Now, you and I, we talked about this a little bit, and I think we both agree that maybe this is overemphasized in the story because it's a tiny window of time in which Ansgar, famously German missionary, was here.
Yeah.
But now there is some thinking that perhaps the place called Korshamn, Cross Harbor, may have something to do with where that early mission was located. Is that right?
Yeah, and it's so exciting. So this August, we will have the first small excavation there to see what they can find. We have already do geophysical scanning of the area, and they found a big long house that is 40-meter long. And in front of it is 2 stone rows. And when they look at other places that have been excavated that have the same, they found that it's been culture buildings there where they have maybe sacrifice for the old gods and so on. And then later it had been churches built on it.
Because Christians often repurpose the old sacred sites of the old religion.
Yeah. So when we look at the water level, the position of the house and everything, we think that maybe this is the place where the closest man to the king was living, and his name was Hegir. And in the book that they have write about Ansgar after he was dead, they say that he became friend to the closest man to the king, and his name was Hegir. And Hegir gave him land to build the first church here, 830.
And it should be pointed out that if you ever do a Google image search for Birka, it's sort of an unfortunate thing. The first pictures that come up tend to be of this huge cross that was put up in the 1800s that really has nothing to do with Ansgar. But I mean, it's cool looking, I guess. But it's not really part of the history of this place, which I just think that overemphasizing a guy who was here twice for a little bit, it's interesting. It speaks to how important this place was, but this place was important for many other reasons, right? This is sort of the capital of Scandinavia at the time.
Yeah, this area of Scandinavia in a way.
Yeah.
And you can see also that the king is changing during the time. So sometime maybe there were a king that was ruling here from Denmark or from the west part of Sweden and Norway, and then they were changing. So, but it was a very important place, of course.
When the world was quite different.
Yeah.
And of course, this is long before Stockholm, which is established in the 1200s that Stockholm becomes the capital?
1250 something.
When the water level's already risen, and that's a more navigable point, right? Much further east into Lake Mälaren. Well, thank you very much. Is there anything else you'd like to say to sum up what people might see when they come here, we should talk a little bit about the visitor experience.
Yes, of course. We have a very, very cute and nice museum with 2 exhibitions.
Permanent exhibits and temporary.
Yes, a cute little museum shop, and we have a very nice restaurant with really, really good food.
It is actually very
that
good.
is locally produced, and it's like Viking kind of food for modern tongues.
Yeah.
You can say.
Yeah, and the food is very fresh. We came in on the boat with the food. So,
Yeah.
So you take a boat ride here, typically from Stockholm. You can also take it from Mariefred.
Yes.
Right? And or I guess you can drive to Adelsö and then
you can go here from Adelsö.
Boat across maybe if you have a boat, but
even from Södertälje and from Enköping.
Okay, so many different ways that you can come. But I guess the typical way is to come from
Stockholm is the most common,
Yeah, on one of the Strömma boats, which you can book. Which Strömma runs the museum and the restaurant, right?
Yes, we take care of all the public things, and we rent this area with the public things from the government.
But it's Riksantikvarieämbetet.
No, it's Statens Fastighetsverk.
Okay, that's the new version. Okay.
So that they are the owner of the, and they take care of the prehistorical area and the UNESCO questions, because Birka is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Deservedly so. And by the way, if you stay on the island, so most people come and go in one day, right?
Yeah.
They take a boat in, and then later the same day they take the boat back to Stockholm. You can stay. There's a hostel, and then there's glamping.
Yes.
So there's
and you know how it is.
It's very nice, very nice. Actually, I would choose the glamping. There's like 5 tents, I guess, big tents, and there's a nice little building with rest facilities and showers, and they bring breakfast to you, which is nice. And yeah, it's quite nice because also you stay off of the historical area, right? The historical area is up here, the old island. Since the sea level is lower now, there's kind of a new island. So you're not on top of burials, if that bothers you, bothers some people. You're not on top of historical artifacts. You're not disturbing historical soil. You're on a new part of the land, which I think is great.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about what am I disturbing, what's under me, right? And then it's an easy walk up here. You can spend, during the summer, since it's light the whole day, you can spend whatever time you like just wandering.
Yeah, walk around.
Yeah, looking at history. So highly recommended, and hope you'll check it out. And if you have deep pockets, hope you'll contribute to making more excavations in the future possible. Yeah, write to Birka about that. All right. Well, Veronica, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you for coming here.
Hey, it's great. Thank you for having me. And from beautiful Birka, we're wishing you all the best.